The most salted butter you'll ever buy.
I love salted butter.
Once they've got over the shop,
Just talking about different places to go, and one was Co-Ed Betsy.
Co-Ed Betsy.
I didn't say that.
Do you mean Betty Coed?
No, I said Co-Ed Llewellyn.
Oh yeah.
Coed Llewellyn.
Coed Llewellyn.
Coed Llewellyn.
What's occurring?
No, it's not. What's occurring? I'm going to have to give you a rundown on Welsh names.
Look at this. Have you ever done this in front of a cow before? Look.
Remember what?
The cow.
A cow? Where's the cow?
Crowd.
Oh, a crowd! You realise I've never made these before? This is all new to me.
You better watch it. Chops is just about 10 tables.
I know.
Chops. Good boy. No.
That way.
That way.
And that back.
No.
he's not going to be able to. No,
No.
Oh, bless him.
No. He's usually quite good. We give him some key swear words and he usually goes back round where he comes from.
You know which way. Go that way.
Come on, this way. Good boy.
That way. No.
No.
This is
way.
why I'm holding on to you.
This way.
Go that way.
Good boy. Good boy. That's it. Oh, bless him. That's a good boy. All right.
Never work with animals and children, that's what they say.
Should have a can of brains on the table.
Settle down.
As it goes on.
So I could look like Ruth Jones.
All right.
Goodness, we're having lots of videos done.
All right, mate.
Okay.
We have a star.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I am or not. I feel a bit intimidated. Okay, I've never cooked in front of an audience before. I'm wearing my husband's favourite apron, okay, which is children respectfully bought in.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Can I see it, please?
And me. Me.
What does it
Thank
say,
you.
John?
Prick with a fork, yes. Okay. Welsh cakes made traditional way and normally on a griddle, but I'm going to do it on a teppanyaki grill. In here you would have already weighed out 8 ounces of self-raising flour. I've done a lot more because there's a lot more enough as though you're going to want to eat it. So into that I'm going to add my butter, which should be 4 ounces, but I'm actually got a lot more because, again, the same reason, I'm making more. It is now liquefied. It should be room temperature, not melted. It's going to make for very messy rubbing in. No comments, Dan. As you can see, it is Welsh salted butter, the only one to use. Okay.
Right, wait, pause. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go.
Okay, so that actually should have been 4 ounces, but as I said, I'm making treble quantity, so there's more in it than there should be. Okay, now this is the fun bit. Usually your kids love doing this, but make sure they've got clean hands. I have scrubbed my hands beforehand, okay? And you're going to mix it in, a bit like you're doing pastry, and you're rubbing it in, so you're going to get fine breadcrumbs, and it's all squishy bit. Okay. This takes a little while. Not normally all the way up my hands like this, but as I said, it's the heat.
Do you find the breeze helps as well, blowing the ingredients away?
It makes less for me to have to cook.
Aerates the mixture, I suppose.
Yes, exactly. I have actually sifted this flour. You don't have to. Some recipes say sift it, some say don't. Some recipes tell you to use plain flour with baking powder, others self-raising. It depends entirely on what you have in your cupboard or what you use. Years ago, the Welsh ladies in the valleys didn't have a choice. They just used the flour that was available. It was usually used to use up leftover ingredients to mix up and make basically cheap cakes.
Aren't you supposed to sing a song while you're doing this?
From a vanity? No. If I start singing, everyone will disappear. Okay, this is...
Right, well I can't have that. I think we need a song now, don't we? Come on, everybody.
All Welsh people
Come on, I
can
think we need to sing now.
Ein wad fy nadau yn aro I mi. That's as far as it goes, I'm sorry. I can't sing it anymore. Yeah, you can all hum it. No, that's it. I'm not going any further because I'll have all my children saying, oh my god.
I'm going to have a copyright strike for that as well.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't sing it. I sang it off key, so you're all right. It wasn't in the true traditional Welsh way, and the words are probably wrong as well.
You're not even from Wales, and you're making these Welsh cakes.
Welsh cakes made in England.
Yeah.
Welsh cakes made in England.
Welsh cakes.
They travel well.
Okay, so as you can see, it's very messy. It does sort of ruin your manicure, ladies, men, whichever. Best to have a little bowl to hand to wash your hands off with.
Pastry out your hands.
Yeah.
You want a little bowl?
What, this one? Okay. Okay.
Jan, you've got quite an audience here. Look at this.
Yeah.
This is embarrassing. Okay, so into that then we're going to add the sugar, which again it should be 2 ounces of caster sugar if you're making the recipe that I put online. Obviously, as you can see, I've got more than that. I use natural sugar, not the white sugar, but obviously white sugar's fine. It depends on what you like. And into that I'm going to add my mixed spice. Now the recipe said 1 teaspoon yesterday when you would have read it, but actually after cooking it yesterday I found that it wasn't enough, because sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. Depends. So I'm actually putting, if you were doing your recipe that I just gave you, a heaped teaspoon like that would have been fine, but I'm actually doing a couple more than that because obviously I've got a good mixture. This is where I'm going to put my hands back in again and mix it all in. Okay, and into that we're going to add, it says 1 to 2 handfuls of the sultanas. I only use sultanas, I don't use currants, and I don't use raisins. I find sultanas the juiciest and the nicest. So again, you'd put 1 to 2 handfuls. Make sure they've been separated beforehand, otherwise you're going to get clumps of the fruit mixed together. But I'm doing more than 1 to 2 handfuls again. As I said, I've done a bigger quantity.
You haven't soaked those in anything, have you?
No, you can soak them in various alcoholic beverages, whiskey, brandy, cherry brandy, anything you fancy. As I said, I have been known to do them at home in chocolate chip because one of my daughters does not like fruit, so I do them in chocolate chip. Traditionally, obviously, it's just this, but you know, feel free to add variations, as was suggested to me yesterday. Crystallised ginger, so we're going to attempt one of those at some stage. Mix it all in. Right, okay, now into that now, you'll add between 1 to 2 eggs. It'll depend on how wet your mixture is. Once you start mixing together, you'll get to know it becomes a pastry consistency. If 1 to 2 eggs is not enough, you can add a drop of milk just to make it a bit more pastry type texture to it. Okay, so I'm going to crack these. Now, I just found out that my eggs were in my car, so they could come out hard boiled. We'll see.
There's a chicken in that one.
Yeah. No, I think it was an eggshell actually. If a chicken pops out, I'm taking it home with me, okay?
Just get the breadcrumbs out.
Oh, that's one of Nick's favourite dishes, is chicken and breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
Some Hungarian style. Okay.
She's a good stirrer, is Jan.
You're covered omelettes as well, eh?
Well, you know, I thought it was a 3-course meal while I was here, you know.
When are you doing the lobster thermidor again, please, Jan?
Yeah.
Well, about 3 seconds time, won't take me long to just get these on and, you know. Right, okay. I'm not going to add it all in because you don't know how wet it's going to be, so add about half. Now here is where I actually put my hands in and do it because I find it easier. You can use a fork, but it's easier to mix it all in if you use your hands. Back in the days of the Welsh ladies in the valleys, they wouldn't have used your fork and spoons and things, they would have just mixed it all in. Again,
Would you like an assistant to help pour the rest of them in? Oh, fine.
I've done it. It does get messy, by the way. This is where the kids love doing it because it gets really messy. So what you're aiming for is a pastry mix. But because it's so hot here, it's obviously coming out wetter than it should be. You're all looking now thinking, that looks disgusting. I think at this stage I'm going to opt for a spoon to go in with it because it is so hot it's becoming sticky as anything. So I'm going to wash my hands off. And I'm going to mix the rest of it with a fork. Otherwise I'll have more on my hands than in here and we'll have half the mixture to cook. Now, if you're looking at it now, you can see it's quite wet. In fact, I would say, for me, that's too wet. Again, it's the heat. I'm not used to doing it in hot. You know, normally you do it in your kitchen. So
You're not normally in the Caribbean.
No, yeah. I need to add more flour to that, which I don't have with me. So if anyone got any flour, I can.
If not, I've got some. Got to be Welsh.
Welsh flour, yes.
Sorry, you can pause now. It's all right. We can stop filming for a bit. It's an interlude now.
Yeah.
Right.
Interlude.
Take a breath.
God, that was a bit.
Thank goodness.
Are you sure you've never done this before?
Now, then obviously it's too wet.
So if you had your fingers in there, it would be coming off of your fingers by now, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it should be sort of falling off your fingers. So as if you were making pastry, you would have a ball of dough in your hands and not. Oh, sorry, Lynn. And not a squidgy mess, basically. Okay, so that's coming together now. You can see it's forming together and it's coming away from the sides more. Don't need that. Definitely don't need that. But what I will need, I'm just going to put a little bit in. Okay. In order to form it into a bowl, I always put some flour in my hands because it stops it sticking. So what I'm going to do is I'm only going to take half the mixture, or a third of the mixture actually, to roll out because it's going to be a big area to roll. You want to flour your board that you're going to roll out on.
Now, in an ideal world, would you chill your pastry mix, your mix there?
Because it's as wet as it is now, I probably would. I'd probably put it in the fridge for about 10, 15, 20 minutes. But obviously, because we're going straight on with it, I'm going to leave it as is. If you were doing it at home, you wouldn't have it as soft as this. Okay. It's going to be a firmer. I mean, I don't know what the temperature is, but it's pretty hot out here.
It's pretty warm out here, isn't it?
Yeah. So, you know, I needed someone to bring their air conditioning unit and just do it for me, you know. But,
It's about the only thing we didn't bring.
Yeah, a fan. That's right. Okay, so we're going to make a bowl, and you're going to roll that out with a rolling pin. Oh, look at me, I'm making litter, sorry. Now,
it's not the big rolling pin you normally hit Nick with, is it?
No, I left that at home because it's got blood stains on it.
A bottle of wine will also suffice.
Yeah. What, for hitting Nick with or for
rolling it out?
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I haven't tried that one. Tried pushing him down the stairs. I've, tried to. No.
I've got that on film now.
Okay, so you want it to about the thickness of your finger. Okay, you don't want it too thin because they become biscuits, but you don't want it too thick because they'll burn on the outside and not cook on the inside. Okay, so that's that. Now your cutter. Put your cutter through flour first. otherwise it will stick. Those who suggest about using a glass, it's great. I have used a glass at home, but again, flour it, because if you use a glass, it gets stuck up inside, and then you're poking your finger up and ruining the shape because you're trying to get it out. So, passing them around.
So how many do you think you're going to make out of this mixture then, Jan?
Out of the mixture that's on the online quantities, you should get around about 15 out of it. It depends on how thick you decide to do it. But out of this mixture, I'm hoping to get around about 35.
Oh, so wait.
So everybody. Not like yesterday, eh?
Yeah.
I think I had 35.
Yeah, some people have their more than a fair share. You
Thanks,
know.
Jan. Thank you.
But I did keep shoving it in your face. Yeah, have this. So these should be fairly light and not too heavy, because if they're heavy then they're going to end up just, well, not as tasty. The lighter they are, the better. They're really delicate, so handle them gently. A bit like you handle your men, maybe.
I'm not sure about that.
Okay, leftovers obviously bring together. And just keep doing them into the circles until you've got no mixture left. And what we used to, my grandmother when she used to make them, you'd end up with a little bit of pastry left. You'd watch her making them, and you'd end up with a little bit left that wouldn't make a full one. So she used to make us baby one, a little baby one, and that was our taster, our treat for sitting there watching her.
That's Jules's.
That's more or less actually the shape, so I can just put that one straight on there. And this would be the baby one that we would have had as a taster. There we go. Right. Now we can get on with grilling, because I've got more mixture here, but rather than cut them all out, I will...
Yeah, you can have another interlude now, Jan. It's fine.
Right.
Have a breathe.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I
I've
have
not cooked the inside, so keep the temperature fairly low. On this I've got it on just over 1. If you're cooking on gas, you'd have it really low, so it's... Because it's a heavy griddle you'd use at home. I've got a griddle that's 120 years old, belongs to my great-grandmother. Big heavy cast iron thing, and you just get it so you can feel the heat off it. Now, years ago we would have used lard or some sort of fat like that we'd rub on it.
Oh yeah.
Good old lard, eh? But these days, we're posh and we're health conscious, so we use spray oil, such as olive oil or sunflower oil. And then you're going to lay these on. Make sure you haven't cooked bacon on your griddle beforehand, because that's not a good flavour.
It sounds good to know.
Well, each to their own. Now these are so hot in the sun that they are breaking apart. Now they usually take about 3 minutes on each side, but again, as I said, depends on how thick you've done them. The way I check them is by feeling the sides of them. If they're still squidgy, then they're not cooked right through, and that can take over 3 minutes.
But we're eating them, that might be a better way.
Well, that is what we normally do. My husband tries them out, and he says, no, that one's a good one, or that one's a bad one. And what I normally would do is actually do a tester one to check that the grill is the right temperature and that how long it needs to be cooked for, because each batch will be slightly different. So I normally do one, break it open, try it and see if it's okay. But with this one, what I've done, because I already pre-did it yesterday, I know roughly my temperature and I know how long it's going to be on for. So that's why I'm putting them all on at once. Fingers crossed that was the right thing. So we're going to give them a time for 3 minutes.
Okay, that's fine, because this is now cue the time lapse. That's fine.
Right, that's okay. I was going to say you don't really want to be filming whilst we're waiting for
No,
these.
that's fine. You can talk about yourself, so never make up a bad letter. So you can swear now, Jan.
I don't swear.
And I'll
You never
catch it on
swear.
camera.
You'll catch it on camera. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
This is exciting, isn't it?
Smells good already.
Smells good.
Yeah, smell it. There's downwind, can't we?
Better than I thought.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Oh God, that was awful. That is pretty bad. Normally I would get a clean plate, okay, but I'm just wiping this
He's
down.
licking his lips under the table there.
Yeah.
You'll tell when they're ready to turn over, because if you start to pick up, you'll see them just bending, which means that it's a bit early. So they should come up a bit more. I was going to say stiff, but that's probably the wrong word to use.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Straight.
Straight, that's the word. I'm checking the time. Right, I am going to turn them because of the heat. They are actually starting to cook. You don't want them to be burnt, but you don't want them to be too pale either.
They look good, Jan.
Sorry?
They look good.
Oh yeah.
No, you put sugar on them. Caster sugar. Yeah.
Sugar.
They're delicious.
Obviously, if you're diabetic, don't use the sugar. But there is sugar in them. But it's not a huge amount of sugar. It's not like a cake where there's quite a heavy amount of sugar in a cake. They are less. But I won't say they're healthy for you. Probably the wrong word to use. I mean, I'm certainly healthy. Just look at me. You know, they've done me no harm.
With the fruit in them, Jan, are they recommended as one of your 5 a day?
Definitely. Well, this is what makes them okay to eat at least 4 or 5 a day, Dan.
So I was okay eating 35 yesterday.
Well, look, you had 7 lots of your 5 a day yesterday.
There we go. So I've done my week's quota then.
Yeah, fine.
So you don't need any today to eat?
No, I'm having your share.
I think you'll find I'll fight you for it, Lynn.
If when you touch them, you can see they're still squidgy, still springy, so that's how you know that they're not quite ready yet. And if you look at the side, you'll see that the mixture is doughy. If you just put your finger in slightly, you'll see that the mixture is still gooey. So that's how you'll tell when they're ready. Who's going to be the first to be a tester?
Jules.
I'm full.
Sorry.
I'm just eating my own body weight in Pizza Hut.
Doesn't get fed. No,
I think Anne might have to be the guinea pig. I'm basically picking people over there, you see. It's good.
Go away. Stop telling jokes while I'm standing here.
Jokes? Hang on a minute. Let's just
No.
zoom out. Hang on.
I'm not going to give you my husband's joke.
I haven't volunteered, you are.
You weren't listening.
No, I'm not.
So Jan, whilst we're waiting for them to cook, tell us a joke.
Test gone out.
Depends how rude it can be.
Go for
You
it.
involved in it.
What do you call a man with? No, what's that this one?
He doesn't know how to make a sausage roll.
No, not that one.
Come on then.
Did you hear about the man who had 5 willies?
No. Tell me about the man who had 5 willies.
His underpants fit like a glove. Sorry, that was very rude.
Right, back to the Welsh Cakes.
You'll have to edit that out, okay? Okay, let's have a look. These are still quite soft in the middle, so I'm just going to keep it. If you find that they're not quite doing, you can return them over. I prefer not to, but obviously with this heat that we're in at the moment, we're not getting the true picture of it, and obviously I don't want them to burn on one side more than the other, like yesterday's batch. So anybody that's watching this now, who cooks Welsh Cakes, is going to say, she turned them over again.
So what you're saying is I'm going to get a thumbs down for that on my video because you've turned them over.
Well, then I did that bit out.
That's all right.
That's all right. You're in England.
Biggest amount of
You're
thumbs down
allowed.
ever
I
now.
was going to say, it doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah, they're going to say.
Get them.
They're going to give you thumbs down because this crazy Welsh one with a Welsh accent on here, giving her rubbish jokes.
And this won't be a Caravan tip or hint, you see. And it'll be,
that's right.
really, you're doing cookery on this channel now?
Yeah.
I've had that comment. I did my chili recipe.
Yeah.
I had a comment saying, "So what? You're a cookery channel now?"
Really?
He said, "I'm unsubscribing." I said, "Bye then, thank you."
I had one last week. Is this a comedy channel?
Was that when you were doing the levelling?
No. I think it was when I was doing the plug.
Oh. But then this shows people that you don't have to be home to do home cooking, isn't it? You can be in a caravan.
It just shows people that you just need to have a field full of people
Watching you do.
watching you.
Right, these are nearly done.
When you're hungry, you'll eat anything.
Right, I'm going to take one off and actually break it in half to check, okay? Because that's the only way I can tell if they're ready.
Yeah, poach everything.
Take the butter off that.
Is that done? You've been playing that with the great hole. I said, what are you doing to yours?
Yeah.
I have selected a guinea pig for you, by the way.
No.
Selected a guinea pig?
Yeah. Oliver, you're the guinea pig. You're in. You're in.
Oh yeah, Oliver, come on, step up.
Good mass.
Yeah, very brave.
Come on, take one for the team, Oliver.
There, don't burn your fingers, okay? I won't do.
Yeah.
Or your mouth. Wow, it's hot.
Don't walk away from it. Don't walk away from it. I need a reaction on camera,
No,
please.
camera reaction.
And if it's horrible, you need to lie.
Really nice. Now I won't know if that's true or not. That sounded very sarcastic. They're really nice.
No, they are really nice. Yeah, done a really good job.
The wings are that way if you need to go and follow.
Are they good enough to eat too?
If you need to go and follow Andy's one from yesterday.
Well, the Sambuca moment. Yeah, that won't make it on camera.
That's what he went for. Right, okay, these are all ready.
Oh, they look great.
They're looking good. Can't beat them.
Go on, go try
Are they mine?
one. If you haven't tried one,
Of course.
No, that's not enough.
we've got someone here that hasn't tried them before. So
I haven't tried them.
Oh, virgin territory.
Now, we want a true reaction, okay? Watch your fingers at home.
Are you alright being on film, by the way?
Yeah, fine.
Back of Lynn's head now.
oh, sorry.
That's really nice. I like that.
You sure?
No, that's mine.
Love the spice.
Do you like it?
Mm.
Oh, thank you.
Beautiful. Like to try?
Oh, sorry, chops.
Would you like to try?
Oh yeah.
I know.
I can make some more.
I think with rum on they'd be.
All right, okay.
It keeps on about rum.
That's nice, isn't it?
I'm in the way there if I go.
I've got the mixed spice, it can really taste it.
Should we make Jan cringe now and give her a round of applause?
Yes, well done.
Well done, Jan. Well done. Okay, anyone who wants to try some, please come over and have some and I will make some more.
Can you buy these cold ones?
You can buy